Have you ever felt like the universe was trying to tell you something? I hadn't. Until the day I lost everything. My name is Sophie. I'm 25, and what began as a solo trip across Europe became the moment my world unraveled, and then reassembled itself in a way I never could have imagined. This is how losing everything in a foreign city led me to discover a deeper truth about life, the universe, and the quiet power of the mind. Budapest felt like a fairy tale the moment I arrived. Ornate bridges over the Danube, trams gliding on cobblestone streets, that perfect blend of old-world charm and electric energy I'd only seen in travel blogs. I had just turned 25. This solo trip across Europe was my gift to myself. After 2 years of working double shifts in Denver, mornings as a barista, nights doing freelance design, every cent I saved went into this. The first 2 days were pure magic. Buda Castle, chimney cakes, glowing journal entries about how alive I felt. On day 3, I set out to explore a hidden market in Jots of Pharaohs. It was everything I'd hoped. Paprika stands, handmade lace, roasted chestnuts, children laughing near balloons. I wandered, enchanted, until I spotted a ceramic stand and picked up a tiny heart-shaped dish. When I reached for my fanny pack to pay, nothing. It was gone. I froze, then panicked. Checked under my coat, retraced steps, mimed the pouch to the vendor. She just smiled, confused. That's when it hit me. My passport, my phone, my wallet, gone. I stumbled through the crowd, stopping strangers, trying to ask for help. No English, no Wi-Fi, no cash, no hotel address. The key was digital on my phone. I had nothing. My body began to shake. I ducked behind a pillar and sank to the ground, breath shallow, mind racing. The cold pavement pressed through my jeans. I had planned everything. This wasn't supposed to happen. And then, like a whisper cutting through the chaos, I heard my grandmother's voice in my mind. When everything seems lost, close your eyes, breathe, and say, it will all work out in the best possible way. She used to say that when I lost pencils or flunked auditions. Silly back then, but now it was all I had. So I closed my eyes and whispered, it will all work out. The universe is on my side. I am safe. Help is on the way. I stayed on the ground for what felt like hours. Slowly, the panic gave way to breath. I kept repeating the mantra. Everything will work out. The universe is on my side. I am safe. Help is on the way. Eventually, I stood up. I didn't have a map or phone, but I remembered something from a blog. The US Embassy was near Sabadsag Square. Maybe I could find it. So I walked, street by street, matching vague memories to buildings. Tourists passed by, locals with groceries, a violinist playing near a metro stop. But I kept going, repeating my mantra. About 20 minutes in, I started feeling dizzy. I hadn't eaten all day. I stopped outside a cafe with red awnings but had no money to go in. So I sat on a bench and stared at a pigeon pecking crumbs. And then I heard it. English. American English. So we could do the baths tomorrow, then tram to Castle Hill. I turned. A couple stood nearby, bundled in coats, maps in hand. Without thinking, I called out, barely above a whisper. Excuse me, are you American? The woman smiled. Chicago, actually. I nearly cried. I told them everything. The theft, the embassy, the lost hotel info. Her name was Rachel. Her husband, Mike, offered his phone without hesitation. They looked up the embassy, called ahead, and reassured me gently. When I mentioned I couldn't get back to my hotel, Rachel touched my arm and said, "You're not alone right now. We'll figure it out." As we walked to the tram, I told them about the mantra and how I'd been hoping for a sign. Rachel blinked. "That's wild. We're reading this book on how your thoughts create your reality." Mike added, "Yeah, law of attraction. You literally manifested us." We all laughed. But deep down, I felt it. This wasn't random. It felt like the beginning of something bigger. They walked me all the way to the embassy and waited outside. From the window, I looked back. Rachel gave me a little wave. And in that moment, I realized, this wasn't luck. It was an answer. The universe was listening. Inside the embassy, things moved slowly. Security, forms, waiting. I clutched the temporary ID they handed me. The officer said it could take up to 3 business days to get my emergency passport. 3 days. No money. No hotel. When I stepped outside, the sky was already fading. Rachel and Mike were still there, waiting by the fountain. Rachel handed me a coffee. "You look like you could use this," she smiled. I almost cried again, not just for the coffee, but for their kindness. I barely knew them, yet they stayed. When they asked where I was staying, I admitted I couldn't even remember the full name of the hotel. Rachel didn't hesitate. "Stay with us. Our Airbnb's got space." I resisted, but they insisted. And truthfully, I had no better option. Their place was warm and simple. Soft lights, a tiny balcony, a sense of calm I desperately needed. Mike reheated some goulash. Rachel gave me fresh clothes. After my shower, we sat on the floor with soup and cheap Hungarian wine. I finally relaxed. "I still can't believe this happened," I said, half laughing. Rachel looked at me serious. "Honestly, I can." She told me about a book they were reading. "Ask and it is given," and how your thoughts and emotions shape your reality. Your energy attracts experiences, she explained. It's not magic, it's alignment. Mike chimed in. "We've been trying it, visualizing what we want, feeling gratitude first. It's changed things." I didn't know what to say. I had always thought people who believed that stuff were either lucky or delusional. But then again, hadn't I sat on a bench, whispering a mantra, and minutes later heard them speaking English? That night, I curled up on their couch with a borrowed blanket. I reached into my coat pocket and felt the little heart-shaped ceramic dish I'd bought just before everything went wrong. It was still there. It felt symbolic, like a piece of the old me I could still carry forward. I whispered my mantra again. Everything will work out. The universe is on my side. I am safe. Help is always on the way. Then, remembering Rachel's words, I added something new. Thank you for what's already on its way. The next morning, while the apartment was still quiet, I sat at the kitchen table. I tried what they described, visualizing the feelings, not just the events. Relief, joy, freedom, and for the first time in days, I smiled. The next morning, Rachel and Mike invited me on a walk. "We're heading to Liberty Bridge and Gellert Hill," Rachel said. "Some movement will do us good." The city looked dreamlike. Misty rooftops, statues veiled in fog, bells echoing in the distance. We walked quietly along the river, but inside, I felt different. Steadier, like something had realigned. Rachel glanced at me. "Noticed anything strange since yesterday?" "Strange how?" I asked. "After a shift in energy, things start lining up. You just have to stay open." Back at the apartment, just as we were taking off our coats, Mike's phone rang. He answered in a mix of English and Hungarian, his face lighting up. "Laszlo, I didn't know you were back." He paused, looked at me, and handed me the phone. "He wants to talk to you." I hesitated, then took it. "Hello." "Hello, Sophie," a warm voice replied. "Mike told me your story. I may be able to help." "Coffee this afternoon." We met at a bookshop cafe tucked between old buildings. Laszlo looked like someone from an indie movie. Thick scarf, sharp eyes, kind smile. "I work in tourism," he said. "Small group experiences. Mostly Americans." Then casually, "I also know someone at the embassy. I might be able to move your paperwork a bit faster." I stared at him. "You do that?" "Of course. Helping travelers like you is why I do this." He sipped his coffee, then added, "If you're staying a few more days, I could use someone like you. English speaking. Just to guide guests around, make them feel welcome. Cultural interpreter, let's say." I blinked. Was he offering me a job? Rachel grinned. "I told you. Your vibration's shifting." Mike nodded. "This is classic law of attraction." Back at the apartment, I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Not from stress, but wonder. 2 days ago, I was sitting on a freezing sidewalk, lost and empty. Now, someone had offered me work. Connection. Purpose. I repeated my mantra once more. Everything is working out. The universe is on my side. I am safe. I'm exactly where I need to be. And for the first time, I didn't just say it. I believed it. The next few days settled into a quiet rhythm. I helped Laszlo with small tours, showing American visitors around, translating menus, answering questions. It wasn't glamorous, but it grounded me. I felt useful again. One afternoon, after a tour in the Castle District, I noticed an older woman watching me from a distance. Petite, layered in wool, long dark braid, eyes that felt like they saw everything. As I passed, she stepped forward, pressed something into my hand, and held up a handwritten card. Come for tea. Friday 4 p.m. Trust your feeling. It had an address. She smiled, turned, and walked away. That night, I sat on the balcony, staring at the note. It felt surreal, like something from a dream. Rachel glanced at it. You going? I don't know, I said. It feels strange. She smiled. Then maybe you're meant to go. On Friday, I followed the address through quiet streets in Obuda. Ivy-covered walls, a wooden door, dried herbs hanging by the entrance. I knocked. The same woman opened it. She smiled, stepped aside, and let me in. The space felt sacred. Earthy tones, soft light, shelves filled with books and jars. 2 mugs of tea were already waiting at a low table. We sat in silence. She typed slowly into a translator app and showed me. You carry fear. It's loud, but beneath it you shine. Would you like help? I nodded, suddenly emotional. She placed one hand on her chest, then gently over mine. No words, just presence. For the next 2 hours, she guided me through unfamiliar breathing exercises. Deep, slow, ancient. She tapped gently on my forehead, chest, and palms. Her voice low, melodic. My body reacted before my mind caught up. Tingling, heat, quiet tears I didn't expect. She handed me a cloth and let me cry. Then she typed again. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. Change your frequency and life will follow. It didn't feel like advice. It felt like truth. Before I left, she gave me a small pouch of dried lavender and a red and gold thread bracelet. For courage, the note read, wear it when your heart forgets who you are. I walked home slowly, the pouch in my coat pocket, her words echoing in my chest like a forgotten song. Something had shifted, not just in my life, but in me. And for once, I wasn't afraid of it. 1 month. That's how long it had been since I lost everything. Yet I had never felt more whole. My passport arrived on a quiet Tuesday. I held it like a symbol. I could leave now. I had money again. My bank account was restored. But deep inside, a new voice whispered, stay. By then, my days had found rhythm. Each morning, I walked to Magda's house. Without words, we followed a ritual. Tea at her table, followed by something new. Breath work. A silent walk. Stillness. Listen, she'd say, pointing to trees. She taught me to ask questions with my heart, not my mind. To wait for the answer, not chase it. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. What was happening in me wasn't about habits or identity. It was something deeper. A quiet unfolding. Like I was being reintroduced to myself. I slowed down. Noticed the way sunlight touched the Danube. The music and children's laughter. The grace in old women's posture. I journaled, not about what I did, but what I felt. The patterns in my emotions. My frequency. One night, we gathered at Laszlo's apartment for dinner. He cooked fisherman's soup. Rachel brought dessert. Mike brought wine. Magda brought silence and something she called emotional digestion. We laughed around a small wooden table. Laszlo raised his glass. To the unexpected family we didn't know we needed. I looked around. He was right. Later, as I helped Magda with her things, she touched my hand. You were not lost when you arrived, she said in slow, careful English. Only closed. Now you are open. Keep your heart open. She reached into her bag and handed me a small notebook. It belonged to my daughter, she said. She never finished it. Now it is yours. The pages were mostly blank, waiting for a new story. I rented a small studio near Magda's neighborhood. Nothing fancy, just mine. A squeaky bed, fogged up windows, a view of the courtyard. Each morning, I lit a candle. Each afternoon, I guided tourists through the city's stories. Each night, I rode and relaxed, shared leftovers with neighbors. Sometimes, I'd still get flashes of that moment in the market. The panic, the loss. But they didn't hurt anymore. They felt like echoes of the moment everything opened. And the synchronicities? They kept showing up. A canceled tour on the exact day I needed rest. A book I'd been thinking about appeared in a free box. A woman in blue I dreamt of showed up on a tour the next day. At first, I called them coincidence. But Magda had taught me better. When your heart is tuned, the world becomes music. Winter softened into spring. The Danube glistened with new light. Markets returned. Cafes spilled back onto sidewalks. And I had changed too. One morning, I received an email from my old freelance client in the US. "We'd love to have you back. Great pay. Start Monday?" For a moment, panic flickered. Should I return? Secure a steady income? I made tea and went for a walk. Sat with it. Instead of a pros and cons list, I wrote a single question in my journal. What serves my soul, not just my survival? The answer rose gently. Stay. A few days later, during a tour, one of the guests lost her bag. She panicked, started to cry. I sat beside her. Take a deep breath. I said, say this with me. Everything is working out. I am safe. Help is on the way. She looked at me like I was crazy, but she said it. 10 minutes later, a street vendor ran over, bag in hand. He'd seen someone walk off with it and intervened. She cried again, this time from relief, and hugged me. That's when I realized I had become the person I once needed. Not just someone who survived, but someone who had transformed. A few days before she passed, Magda invited me over. Her hands were trembling slightly as she poured the tea. You must keep teaching, she said softly. But not with words, through living. She reached into her pocket and gave me a velvet pouch. Inside was a delicate amethyst pendant, wrapped in silver wire. It amplifies intuition, she whispered. But more than that, it holds my blessing. I pressed it to my chest. She smiled. You no longer need to be found. You have become the finder. The morning I learned she had passed, I didn't cry right away. I walked. Past the park where we once sat in silence. Past the cafe where I first met Rachel and Mike. To the bench where I whispered my first mantra. Then to Liberty Bridge, where I let the wind carry my tears into the river. I wasn't lost. I was free. 3 years have passed. I still live part of the year in Budapest. The rest, I travel, leading small retreats, helping others realign, not through lessons, but presence. I don't chase answers anymore. I create space for them to arrive. These are the truths I carry. When it feels like everything's falling apart, go inward and breathe. Flow isn't about control. It's surrender without collapse. Synchronicities aren't luck. They're language. Family is vibration, not blood. You are not here to find the path. You are the path. Magda's amethyst rests over my heart each day. It's not magic. It's memory. It's alignment. It's proof that in the darkest moment, the light isn't gone. It's just waiting for you to open your eyes again. If you're in your darkest moment right now, I offer you what saved me. Close your eyes and breathe. Say it with your whole heart. Everything will work out in the best possible way. The universe is on your side. Because when you open yourself to the signs, the universe always answers. That was my story of manifestation. What will yours be? If you enjoyed this adventure, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel to watch more exciting and inspiring stories like this one.